Hi everyone, I'm Wendy and this is Show Me Mo Vegan, where I make easy, whole food vegan meals. And today is another recipe inspired by my CSA. Community-supported agriculture is a great way to get tons of fresh, local veggies into your diet. I have a whole playlist of videos where I show how I use my local produce, and I will link that for you so you can check it out. One week, I was inspired by the fennel that I received in my produce share. And I thought, fennel is really delicious roasted, so why not put it on a pizza? So I took the fennel as well as some of the cherry tomatoes from my produce share, and I also had a few Jimmy Nardello peppers left over from the previous week's share. So I used those as my pizza toppings. Let's take a look at how I put it together. I'm starting off with my cruciferocious apron from nutritionfacts.org because I'll definitely make a mess while making this pizza. First, I'm preparing the pizza crust and activating the yeast by putting it in some warm water. I'm using Dylan's recipe from Well Your World, so I'll put a link down below so you can get his exact recipe. His recipe calls for whole wheat flour, and I don't tend to keep flour on hand because I don't use it very often. But something I do always have on hand is oats. You can take oats and blend them up and voila, you have oat flour. I also happen to have a little bit of chickpea flour on hand, so instead of the 2 cups of whole wheat flour that the recipe calls for, I did a combination of about 1.5 cups of oat flour and about 1/2 cup of chickpea flour. I ended up using another about 1/3 cup of oat flour when rolling out the pizza crust. Then I'm adding a little bit of flaxseed to the flour mixture, and once the yeast mixture is ready, I'll combine everything together. This is what it looks like when you first combine everything, and then I'll set that aside to let it rise. Meanwhile, I'll chop all the toppings. This is what the pizza dough looks like when it's ready to roll out. It'll take about an hour and you want it to double in size. This dough was very sticky, so like I said, I ended up using some extra oat flour, about 1/3 cup. And you'll definitely want to use parchment paper because since there's no oil, it will stick. Once the crust is all rolled out, it's time for topping. As you can see, I didn't use a pizza sauce, and that's simply because I didn't have any on hand and I was being too lazy to make my own. Feel free to add a red sauce though if you like. So I'm just adding some mashed white beans. I used Great Northern beans this time. If you add salt to your food, feel free to add it here. I personally don't do that, so instead you could use a no salt seasoning or any all-purpose seasoning that you like. Maybe some garlic powder and onion powder would be great as well. And then for some extra flavor, I'm using some leftover pesto that I had made. I got some basil in my local produce as well. So I make an oil-free pesto. I'll put a link to a recipe that I've made before, but normally I don't actually follow a recipe. I simply add the basil with some lemon juice, maybe some balsamic vinegar, garlic, and then if you like, you can add some nuts or seeds for a little extra richness. Walnuts, pine nuts, or sunflower seeds are great options. And then it's time to spread out all the veggies. In addition to my peppers, tomatoes, and fennel from my local produce, I also added some red onion and some chopped black olives that I had left over in the fridge. And then you can do anywhere from 425 to 450 degrees Fahrenheit and bake the pizza as long as you like to make sure the crust is cooked all the way through and the toppings are cooked to your liking. And then after it's baked, I added some nutritional yeast on top for a little bit of a cheesy flavor. If you wanted, you could also make a vegan Parmesan. You simply take nutritional yeast, garlic and onion powder, and blend it up with some nuts or seeds. Some good options are cashews, sunflower seeds, or hemp seeds. But again, I went the simple route and just used plain nutritional yeast. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel for more plant-based meal ideas. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.